So it is 12 o'clock and we are going to get started. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to Webinar for Busy Lawyers. This is put on by LCL, Mass LOMAP. These webinars are designed to bring you practical information in just 20 to 30 minutes. And by practical, we mean that you can implement what you learn here today in your practice immediately. Today, I have the great pleasure of introducing Allison C. Shields-Joes. She is a fantastic speaker and author. She has been a practicing lawyer, a former partner. She has written a number of books. We are so delighted to have her back with us today. As the president of Legal Ease Consulting, Allison provides marketing, social media, business development, productivity, and practice management, coaching, and consulting services for lawyers and law firms. As a former practicing lawyer and law firm manager, she well understands the law firm environment, the daily pressures faced by lawyers trying to manage and build their business while practicing law and successfully serving their clients. She has written a number of books, the most recent one on LinkedIn, which I highly recommend to everyone. In addition to other books such as the author of How to Do More in Less Time, The Complete Guide to Increasing Your Productivity and Improving Your Bottom Line, and most recently, The LinkedIn in 1 Hour for Lawyers, which is now in its second edition and actually is on sale today as well. Allison is very well regarded in the field. She has received a number of awards and commendations. We are delighted to have her with us today to talk about the importance of LinkedIn for lawyers. So Allison, thank you so much for your time and being with us.
Thanks, Laura. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to mention the LinkedIn in 1 Hour for Lawyers is the old version of the book. The new version is Make LinkedIn Work for You. It's available on Amazon. I have a link at the end of the presentation. And as Laura mentioned, it's on sale through midnight Pacific time tonight. So if you're interested after you go through this presentation, it's on sale for $7.99. So, but let's talk a little bit about making your LinkedIn action plan. So according to the legal technology survey that the ABA conducts every year, over 80% of lawyers have a LinkedIn presence. But in my experience doing speaking and training and coaching, not many of those lawyers are actually using LinkedIn strategically. So, let's start off with thinking about why lawyers should use LinkedIn in the first place. Most lawyers tell me that they get their business through networking and that yields word of mouth referrals, right? It's people that they know or clients that they've already worked with who are referring them business. Well, LinkedIn is actually a business networking platform, and it's what I call networking squared. So there's an extensive network of people already available to you on LinkedIn. It's customizable, meaning you can pick and choose who you actually want to connect with, and it gets updated for you. So in other words, if a connection moves to a different job, you'll still be connected to them on LinkedIn. So in the old days where you didn't have their new contact information, you might lose track of them. You don't have that problem anymore on LinkedIn. It's really about building your relationships. So we want to think about what you're doing online corresponds to what you would do in real life. So unfortunately, we're still dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic, which means that we are not necessarily networking in person. So it's even more important to think about what it is that you are doing online. So you want to develop a plan for LinkedIn, and you want to be consistent. You want to try to make your participation and your use of LinkedIn a habit so that it becomes kind of part of your regular day-to-day. But it doesn't have to be a huge investment. If you invest 30 to 90 minutes every week on LinkedIn, you will be so far ahead of other lawyers who are on LinkedIn, you wouldn't believe it. So it's not an especially time-consuming thing. And if you think about what you used to do as far as going to in-person networking events and having to get in the car and drive places and spend 3 hours, this is a very manageable amount of time to spend. And the way you want to start with creating your plan is to think about setting goals. What is it that you want to get out of your LinkedIn use? Do you want to meet specific people? Do you want to establish yourself as an expert in the field? You know, what is your goal on LinkedIn? Do you want to get media attention? You know, I have a number of clients who have gotten articles or quotes or even television spots as a result of people finding them on LinkedIn. You know, and also you could have obviously goals of meeting potential clients or potential referral sources. I don't know if everybody else is muted. I'm hearing something. I don't know if it's feedback on my mic. So if it's me, I apologize. But anyway, so when thinking about building your plan, I like to talk about, and the books that Dennis Kennedy and I have written go through what we call the 3 building blocks of LinkedIn. And those 3 building blocks are your profile, your connections, and your participation. So as we go through today, I want to set up this idea of the 3 building blocks as the basis or the foundation for your kind of action plan for what to do with LinkedIn. So building block number 1 is your profile. And your profile is essentially standing in your shoes and networking for you online, whether you're physically sitting at the computer or not. And what you want your profile to do is to differentiate yourself from everybody else who is in your area and doing what you do, right? That's the goal of marketing, is to show why you are the right choice for your ideal client. But you need to think about the fact that LinkedIn is, your profile on LinkedIn is about you. It's telling about you, but it isn't really for you. It's for your audience. And you've got to spend some time thinking about who it is that you want to be connected to on LinkedIn and who you want to see your profile. And then think about what it is that they're interested in and what they need and what information they might need to know about you. Just like if you're talking to somebody in real life, what is the most important information that they're looking for that you can provide to them? And you've got to anticipate that online because you may not be interacting with them in real time. So to start with your action plan with the first building block on your profile, the first thing that you want to think about doing is upgrading your headline, and then creating a well-crafted summary, which is now called the About section on LinkedIn. Then you want to add relevant skills because LinkedIn thinks that that's important on your profile. And since we're lawyers, we have to think about whether our jurisdiction has any particular disclaimers that they're requiring us to accompany on our LinkedIn profile. I'm in New York, and I know that in New York, your LinkedIn profile is considered advertising, and there are certain disclaimers, jurisdictions, rules to see if there's anything that they need to be including there. So your professional headline, this is just a screenshot to show where it appears on your profile. You can see that you have a pretty good amount of space there to be descriptive on your profile. What you want to do is consider your headline your mini elevator pitch, because sometimes on LinkedIn, people only see your picture and your name and headline. So you want that line to be descriptive enough that people understand right away what you do. 120, LinkedIn has expanded, I think recently, it made room for you to describe what you do. So when you're writing your headline, you want to think about who your clients are, what you do for them. And actually, this doesn't even apply just to your headline. You should really thinking about all of these things and when you're writing and referral sources. Who are the people that you want to be talking to? What are the services that you provide for them? And then what benefits would they get from working with you?
Allison, if I may pause just for a moment, this is fantastic information you're giving to all of us. Thank you so much. We've had a couple notes in the chat saying that your audio is going in and out. I wondered if you could, in response to those, maybe speak a little slower, a little louder, or something to try to get that across, because this is such important information that you're sharing. I want to make sure that we get that.
Okay. I don't know if it's this mic or if it's my internet connection. I don't know what's happening because I did see a pop-up come up to that my internet connection was having trouble. So hopefully it will get better. Um, so let me just go back a second again to talk about the things that you should be thinking about writing your headline. So you want to think about who your clients are, what you do for them, and what benefits they get from working with you. And that applies throughout your entire profile. That should be in the back of your mind whenever you're writing anything on LinkedIn. So it applies also to the about and experience sections, which are the other two sections that I would focus on, especially if you're just starting out. So your headline, and then directly beneath that on your profile is the about section, which used to be called the summary. And then experience is below that, which is kind of the resume format of all your current position and your previous positions. So I like to think about the about section as kind of a short bio, almost an introduction to the rest of your profile. And I sometimes talk about it as almost the cover letter, where you tie everything together and you explain how all of the experience and all of the things that are listed elsewhere on your profile inform what you're doing for clients now, and why you're doing it. You want to include some detail in your experience section so that your potential clients and referral sources really get a great picture of what you actually do for clients on a day-to-day basis. And you want to use keywords that your potential clients or referral sources might use to find you. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one is because if they type those words into the search box in LinkedIn, your profile is much more likely to come up if those keywords are actually listed in your profile. But number two, if that's the language that they use or the way they talk about the problems that they have or the reasons why they're looking for a lawyer, they're just going to relate better to your profile. I also recommend to my clients that you write your LinkedIn profile in the first person as opposed to the third person. So oftentimes you'll take information from, or maybe even cut and paste a little bit from the bio that's on your firm website, which is fine. But normally your bio on a firm website is written in the third person. You know, it would say Allison's experience is this, Allison has done that. On LinkedIn, you're networking. So you wouldn't go in real life and talk to somebody and say, Allison is a practice management consultant. You would say, I'm a practice management consultant. And so since LinkedIn is standing in your shoes to network for you, that's what you want on your profile as well. You don't want to include legalese. Again, thinking about your audience, think about the journalistic who, what, when, where, and why. Then next steps on your profile, you want to start fleshing more things out. So you've got the top three parts, your headline, your about, and your summary, your experience section filled in. Now you want to start adding all of that other good stuff like your honors and awards, whatever memberships. You want to start seeing if you can get people to endorse you for skills, to write recommendations on your profile, and add media, which is another way to stand out. So if you want to add profile sections, it's pretty easy to do. There's this big blue button that you see at the top when you're looking at your own profile. And then you've got all these different drop downs that LinkedIn will show you places that you can flesh things out or add things to your profile. Recommendations, if you go to the recommendations section on your profile, there's a little button at the top where you can ask colleagues or clients or referral sources for recommendations. And then adding media, you can add media to your about and your experience section. So under your current position or in your about section, and you can add presentations, you can add images, you can add video, you can add PDF documents. There's all kinds of things that you can add there that again will help demonstrate your expertise as opposed to you just talking about it. And then you have a dashboard on LinkedIn when you look at your own profile, which will tell you where you are. All-Star is kind of the most complete that your profile can be. If you're not at All-Star, LinkedIn will also give you recommendations for how to improve your profile so that you can make it more complete. And then there's obviously maintenance. Once you've fleshed it out as much as you possibly can and you feel that it represents you well, you want to keep updating it anytime anything changes so that your profile is always as current as it possibly can be. And I recommend that you review your profile every 6 months just to make sure you haven't missed anything and there isn't something that you might want to tweak or change. So now we get into our second building block, which is connections. And again, you want to think about your goals. Who is it that you want to be connected with on LinkedIn? And that's part of your strategy. So where do we start with connections? The easiest thing to do is to upload your address book into LinkedIn and then send personalized invitations to individual people within that address book that you want to connect with. And certainly you want to respond to any invitations from other people that you get. That's the easiest place to start when you're trying to build out your connections. And I always recommend that you personalize any invitation that you send. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to say yes to connect with you. So once you start sending invitations, LinkedIn will give you this little pop-up that says, hey, if you want to include a personal note, somebody's more likely to accept. So you just click on add a note, and you can just type in, it doesn't have to be complicated or long, a sentence or two is perfectly fine. And then you want to continue the conversation. So you want to keep, you don't want to stop with just connecting with somebody. You want to keep that relationship moving. So maybe you want to say thank you. Maybe you want to see if you can set up a time for a phone call. Maybe you want to share some information with them. Just keep the conversation going. Next steps after you've started making connections and accepting invitations is to keep looking for new ways to build out your network on LinkedIn. So that could be looking at groups on LinkedIn that you belong to see if there are members, other members of the group that you're not directly connected to. LinkedIn also has a people you may know feature, so it will suggest people for you to connect to. And then alumni, the alumni feature on LinkedIn is a great way to connect with people. So this is what the people you may know feed looks like. I've got people blurred out so that I'm not sharing anybody's information without their permission. But this is a feature, if you go into your network tab on LinkedIn, that it's very easy to add connections. And LinkedIn uses the information that you've provided with them to predict people that you might know based on your activity on LinkedIn, the positions that you've held, where you've gone to school, and so forth. The alumni search is also a great tool, so you can easily connect with anybody that you went to school with. So I went to Fordham Law. You can go on and if you look at search on the school, you'll see in the left sidebar, there's an alumni tab. And if you click on that, you can do a search for alumni by year, by location. There's all sorts of filters there, which makes it easier for you to connect with people that you may already know, but may have kind of lost touch with. And you'll see that you can get all kinds of stats and information in that alumni tool. And then finally, again, maintenance. You always want to keep maintaining. Once you've connected with a lot of people, don't stop there. Every time you meet somebody new, send them an invitation to connect with you on LinkedIn. It's a great way to follow up after a meeting, whether it's a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting. Again, don't forget to send a personalized note. Remind the person how you know them and why it makes sense for you to connect or why you would like to connect with them. And then keep staying in contact and following up. You want to bring that relationship outside of LinkedIn and into the real world. So even people that you haven't met before that you meet on LinkedIn, you want to try to bring that connection into the real world off of the LinkedIn platform. So whether that's emails or telephone calls or Zoom meetings, whatever it might be. And then our final building block is participation. So again, you think about what your goals are. That's going to inform how you're going to participate on LinkedIn. But to start, I would say you want to start posting. So again, if we're thinking about what we do in real life networking as opposed to what we do online, in real life, if you join a group, you've got to show up in order to get anything out of it. And you have to start talking to people and letting them know who you are and what you do and how you can help them or help the organization, whatever it might be. And so that's where posting comes in. You've got to interact. It's your way of conversing with your network on LinkedIn. Then you want to engage with other people. So it's not all about you. Networking is about how you can help other people and promote other people and how you can see what other people are doing as well. So the way to do that on LinkedIn is to look at your feed and start engaging with what other people are posting, whether that's just simply liking a post or commenting on it to start a conversation with the person who posted it, or sharing it to your network if you think it's valuable information that your network would be interested in. And it also helps to promote your colleague or your connection. And then an easy way to start with participating also is to look for groups to join. I recommend that you start with 3 groups and see how that goes. Most groups that you belong to in real life, like your bar association, your alumni groups, a lot of networking groups also have corresponding LinkedIn groups. So those are easy ways to start with participation. This is what it looks like to start a post. You can see that there's lots of ways that you can post just text. You can add video, you can add photos. I recommend that you think again about your audience when you're posting. What is going to be of interest to them? Post articles or links to articles, they don't necessarily have to be by you. Share information that would be helpful to your audience, whether you've created that or not. You can demonstrate your knowledge and become a trusted information source or an information hub, even if you're not creating the information yourself. And then remember to keep it 80% informational and only 20% promotional. So it's fine to do promotional things on LinkedIn. Just make sure that you're not constantly just promoting, because it turns people off. And then you want to do things that boost engagement with your posts on LinkedIn. So that might be things like asking questions, creating a poll, including some kind of a call to action for somebody to reach out to you if they want more information. You can add hashtags to posts on LinkedIn now, just like you can on Facebook. And that gives your post a wider audience because people will search for information using hashtags. And if something is relevant, particularly to a specific person or group, you can mention them in your post on LinkedIn as well. I show this only because sometimes people have trouble finding where groups are on LinkedIn, and it's under the work tab at the top. And then you can see, you'll click on groups and you can search different topics to find groups that you might be interested in joining on LinkedIn. Or you can just use the search box to type in a name, such as the name of your bar association, that would pop up the group. And groups are a great way to get really known outside of your usual circle of people. A lot of times there are more people in a group than you are connected to, and that gives you a much wider audience. So all of the things that you might post on your feed that may only be seen by your connections, you can get a wider audience by posting those same things within a group. And you can establish yourself as an expert within a group. So if you join a group that contains exactly the kind of people that you want for clients or referral sources, and you're active in that group, people will start to see you as an expert, and they may reach out to connect with you. It's a great way to demonstrate your knowledge, to build additional relationships, and to develop rapport with people. A lot of conversation on LinkedIn happens within the groups. So again, these are just some things that you can do. You can start a discussion. You can interact with people's posts the same way you can in the feed. You can also search the list of members in the group. Once you join a group, you can see a list of all of the members, even if you're not connected to them. So you may be able to identify new people to connect with that way, which I think I mentioned when we were talking about connections as well. Again, you can share links to articles. You can promote upcoming events that might be particularly interesting to that particular group. And you can do things like post photos too within a group, just like you can in your own feed. So next steps, once you've started getting involved with posting and groups, maybe you want to consider writing articles using LinkedIn's publisher feature, which is really easy to use. I'll show you in a second. Then you want to start commenting or joining into group discussions. If you've just joined, but you've been kind of lurking in the background, now's the time to get involved and start posting and interacting with other people in the group. You can also engage with posts on company pages that might get you the attention of a business or a business owner that you're looking to connect with, that maybe you have no other way to directly connect with on LinkedIn. So if you wanted to use the publisher platform, which is LinkedIn's kind of article writing platform, it's a word processor, just like you'd be familiar with something like Word, but it's just within LinkedIn. So when you go to write a post, you would click on this write an article little icon at the bottom, and it brings up the publishing platform, which looks like this. And it's very easy to go through. It shows you the prompts where you type in your headline, where you write your content. You can add images to it. You can add a header image. And I've found that a lot of times, even though my blog has been around for 15 years, sometimes when I publish an article on LinkedIn, it gets a lot more attention even than the articles do on my own blog or my own website. And then finally, again, you want to maintain, right? You want to keep the conversation going with your audience on LinkedIn. So you want to post at least one update a week. You want to consistently review your group discussions and join in. Look at your homepage and your feed for ways that you can interact with your audience, but also for content that you can share. So again, you don't have to create your own content all the time on LinkedIn to be seen as. Sometimes it's just about creating a place where people can go to find content that interests them. So you're becoming a hub. And sometimes the way to do that is just by simply scrolling through your home page, see if there are articles posted by other people that your audience might be interested in. And then you want to react, again, you want to keep that conversation going by liking, commenting, and sharing. And don't forget to take that participation offline. Again, this shouldn't be all just within LinkedIn. You want it to be a conversation that goes beyond just that social media platform. You want it to become a bigger relationship that hopefully leads to business or other opportunities down the line. So again, I'm Allison Shields. My contact information is here, and I believe everybody will be getting a copy of these slides with the recording of the program if you want to reach out to me. Links to the book. The Kindle version is the one that's on sale for $7.99 right now at Amazon until midnight Pacific time tonight, which is September 17th. And I'm happy to take questions, Laura, if there are any. I know I apologize if my internet connection, I don't know why. It's a beautiful day today. There's no excuse for it. But I saw it pop up a couple of times, so.
No, that's wonderful. I'll have some
Apologies.
internet connectivity issues at times. Allison, this is a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much. You gave us a lot to think about with building connections, with establishing yourself as an information hub, establishing yourself as an expert within groups, about how you can share links to articles. That was particularly informative that you mentioned some of your publications on LinkedIn received even more traction than on your own two blogs, since you were such a prolific author yourself. We do have some questions coming in. I encourage others too that have questions to certainly add theirs to the chat, and we'll get through as many as we can. The first question we had was about the benefits of paying for a premium version of LinkedIn, and one person asking if you paid for the premium, as she said that her profile isn't quite the same. I'm not sure if that relates to when you talked about the different versions of filling in your profile, or what some of the benefits may be of premium and who you think that may benefit.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's one of the questions that we get all the time, Dennis and I, when we talk about this. So to answer the question about whether I have premium, I don't. I've never even taken advantage of the 30-day trial of premium. That's my true confession for today. I've only ever used the free version. And that has worked very well for me. Dennis tried out the premium version, and he is now a convert, and he says he can't imagine living without it. So, you know, there are certain situations where I say you should definitely try it out. So if you're looking for a job, there is a job seekers premium account, which can be helpful, especially if you are applying for jobs that people are posting on LinkedIn, because you kind of get a bump if you have that premium job seeker account. I think sometimes if you're running into problems on LinkedIn where you feel like you're hitting obstacles, like you can't connect to people you want to connect with, or your searches, you're not getting the search parameters that you want. There's a lot more filters and things that are available with the premium option. And you can also reach out to more people. You're automatically can reach out to people who are not as close connections to you. So, you know, LinkedIn has like first level, second level, third level plus connections. So Laura, if you and I are connected, we're first level connections. If somebody else at LOMAP is connected to you, but not to me, they would be a second level connection to me, and so forth. So the premium gives you expanded options to message people, and it makes it easier to connect with people if you're paying. But I have found that the free version is perfectly fine for my purposes. And frankly, for most lawyers, they're not using all of what's available on the free version anyway. So I usually encourage you to use the free version, get your action plan into place, start doing it frequently. And then if you start bumping into problems or you feel like you want to try it out, they're always offering these 30-day, you know, free trials. So you can always try it for 30 days and see if you feel like it's making a difference for you.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. And that's a good reminder too, that people may not be taking advantage of all the features on the free version, such as how you talked about the importance of personalizing invites and how that can really build some connections with that. So that is great to know. Another question we have is a person who's saying that they get too many requests to connect. They may have brief text conversations with the person, but they're really not sure how of the people to connect with for those that they haven't met in person. Do you have thoughts on this about requests to connect?
I mean, I try, there's two philosophies you possibly can, because the more people you're connected to, the wider your network is. And the bigger your network is, the easier it is to connect to more people, right? So, so that's one philosophy. The other philosophy is
We're losing you a little bit. If you could repeat some of what we're saying, you're sort of going in and out.
and this, I lean more towards this second one, which is I try my network. The first one is connect to as many people as possible, because that makes your network bigger. The second is to connect only to people that you feel are useful for you and for your connections, which is kind of more where I lean. So in terms of getting
Oh, you may be frozen again, Allison. It may just be on my screen, or I'm not sure if it's for all attendees as well. If you could just repeat.
lots of
You're frozen from parts. From what
if an invitation is personalized, I'm much.
We're having a few audio difficulties, if everyone could bear with us. From what I heard, to encapsulate a little bit of it for the audience, Allison was talking about how there are two different strategies for your network: to either accept a lot of connections and really build your connections out, have a broad network, she said, or secondly, to have it smaller, really connect with those personalized to you, and that she's more likely to accept personalized invites. And it looks like hopefully we'll have you back. I'm not sure if we're still having some audio difficulties. Can you hear us, Allison?
I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me.
Okay.
Can you hear me or no?
I heard you just then. You were out for a little bit of time, but now you're back. And you, we lost you when you were last talking about if you're having a smaller network, you're more inclined to accept personal invites.
Yeah, so that's me personally. I'm more inclined to accept a personal invite because that means the person is actually, as opposed to somebody who's just next. That being said, doesn't mean that if I a request that isn't personalized that I won't accept it. I usually look for a reason why it makes sense for us to connect right away. So when you get a connection request, you have an option to reply without accepting right away. And I will often do that. I will often just just send a message to say, hey, thanks for reaching out to me, and try to kind of suss out whether or not it makes sense for us to connect.
Those are good tips. And
Did
so
I lose you again?
we lost you for parts, but I was able to get you back, and you were talking about how you don't have to accept right away. You can start a conversation with a request that you received from someone you didn't know, see if it is someone that you would really like to connect with, and build it from there. And I think this relates back to your point earlier in the conversation about how using LinkedIn is really, yes, it's online, but it's also building your brand sort of out in the world, building your connections at large. Which is helpful, and letting people know your expertise and your interest in connecting with those similar. We had another question on this about, they were wondering if you have thoughts on how long your weekly update should be. You mentioned it's a good idea to update weekly. And also if you have ideas about video recordings.
I'm not sure what you mean about ideas about video recordings. I mean, your posts don't have to be long. I would say, posts can be really a couple of sentences or just a link to an article like, hey, you might want to know today. They don't have to be long. Video is getting, if you're asking about posting video on LinkedIn, video seems to be getting really good attention on LinkedIn. So if you do, but they need to be, in my opinion, short for social media. The attention span of people on social for video.
Shoot, unfortunately, we're losing you a bit again, Allison. Do you mind trying something and turning off your video and see if we have a better audio connection that way?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
So I don't know if you caught what I was saying about video. I think video is getting great traction on LinkedIn, but I think they need to be short.
Okay. So short videos, and you're saying that weekly updates, even if it's a few lines, that's helpful, but it sounds like it's more the frequency and keeping your name out there on the radio or on the radar is part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always part of the strategy of staying top of mind so that your audience, you're engaging with your audience. And I find that people find it sometimes more fun to engage with a video than just with text. But I would mix it up. I wouldn't do just some images, some articles, some just purely text posts.
Okay, that is helpful. Do you have suggestions too on what people should think about more for their headline? I know you talked some about it. Your headline particularly is so helpful because it mentions how you're the president of your consulting company, how you're a copywriter, an author, you help with business development and marketing and social media and all of these different things. Do you have suggestions on how people can try to both encapsulate down to their best skills and yet also showcase sort of their range?
So I think that I've actually got a whole video just on doing your LinkedIn headline. But, as a brief answer, I would say you want to convey the services that you provide. So you want in there to say that you're a lawyer. I usually recommend, if you can, to also include your firm name in there, because the firm name may be something that people know. but also your practice area. So, you know, like you might want to say divorce mediator, you know, or attorney and divorce mediator at Smith and Walensky, something like that. But you have plenty of room, so you can add other things in there as well, depending on what you want to showcase at a particular time. And you can change it as many times as you want. I tweak my headline all the time. So the one that I think is on the slide there is not exactly what it is on my LinkedIn profile today. Sometimes I move things around depending on what, you know, I'm trying to see if whether people relate more if I have something different towards the front of my headline as opposed to at the end of it. But you just want to make sure that if I see you in the search results and I only see your name, your picture, and your headline, and I'm looking for an immigration lawyer in Texas, that I can tell just by that you're an immigration lawyer in Texas, because I'm much more likely to click on it there than if it just says, you know, attorney at Smith and Walensky or partner at Smith. That doesn't tell me anything. So you want to make sure that it really conveys what you do. And you want to use words that your clients use. So if your client's looking for a divorce lawyer and you use the word matrimonial, not all clients are necessarily going to make that connection. They may click easier on the one that says divorce as opposed to the one that says matrimonial. So that's where the legalese kind of comes in.
That's a great tip. And that relates back to what you talking about LinkedIn is not necessarily for you. It's about how people can find you, can relate to you, how you can stand out. And so really thinking of what your audience, particularly what your clients may be looking for. I also like how you mentioned that it really is dynamic, and you can think about changing your headlining, updating your profile as you get more skills, as you think about how you can best connect with other people and try it out, because that, it sounds like, is marketing related to as a whole. You do your research and you find out what will connect to you with the clients that you're seeking to be in front of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just wanted to mention also that I don't know if everybody's seeing the chat. I'm happy to take the questions if somebody wants to send me the chat afterwards and write out my answers that you can then share along with the recording of the video, because I know we have a little.
Certainly, that is a very kind offer. I will be happy to do that. I will send Allison the questions, and then she can end back the replies, and then I'll connect it with our marketing manager.
Which I apologize. It must be my connection. I can't figure out why, but
the slides and recording will have the answers as well written out to other people. That said, if you have other questions, certainly include them on the chat. But Allison, that is very, very kind of you, and we will do that. Thank you so much for this highly informative program. It really is a great way of how we can use this predominant social media channel right now to really engage in the world with fellow lawyers, with clients, and to really build yourself in your career. So this has been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your advice with us. As noted, we'll provide a recording and slides. Both they'll be sent to attendees and will be on the Mass LOMAP website. Thank you so much to the attendees for tuning in. Please mark your calendars for the next one, which will be on Wednesday, October 14th, when Tracy Myers will present about managing stress in the time of COVID. And she is our newest clinician at Mass LOMAP and will give you some great tools for managing stress. Allison, thank you so much as always. This has been wonderful. Even with the audio issues, you are just a font of information. And thank you so much for sharing your tips, and also for your prolific writing, making LinkedIn work for you and all of your other great books. It's very, very helpful to the profession. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye, everybody.